This is week number 2 of our brand new series called Hold My Beer. And it's really good to have all of you here today at Grace Life TV here in El Paso, as well as those of you who are joining us online all over the United States as well as around the world. In this series, what we're doing is we're looking at the lives of a few different individual people that are in the Bible and who at some point in their life had said, "Hold my beer and watch this." Now, I know that's not a direct quote, but that's close enough because that's pretty much what they said. They got this idea that they could do something that wasn't possible, and that's what they did. You know, there's a lot of people in our world today, including all of us at some point or another, who feel, pretty confident in ourselves, right? There's a lot of times we feel pretty confident in ourselves, and we feel like we have what it takes to stand up to a challenge, And the reason I called this series "Hold My Beer" or "Hold My Beer, Watch This" is because we all probably know what's going to happen next after somebody says that. It's not going to end well. Anytime somebody says "Hold my beer and watch this," you figure out that real quick that something bad's they're going to wake up in the hospital going, "How did I get here?" Right? Well, all that kind of stuff. So. We all, and another aspect of this is that we all know that too much beer means intoxication. And intoxication means we're going to make weird, stupid decisions. And stupid decisions always mean that it's not going to end well. And so we become a lot of times intoxicated on our own confidence and our own strength and our own will, and we want to do things that we know really aren't. We wouldn't make that decision if we were being rational human beings as far as God's concerned. So today we're going to be looking at a man by the name of Samson. How many of you ever heard of Samson? Yeah, most of you probably know who Samson is. He's probably best known for being the strongest man on earth, at least at that particular day and time, and maybe would still be considered that in this day and time. I would venture to guess that's probably true. So today I'm calling this particular episode the Delilah Incident. Delilah is one of those names that you hear once in a while, but most people don't name their daughter Delilah because Delilah generally has a little bit of a shady reputation as far as that's concerned. And we're going to look at some of the things in ways in which she was a little bit shady about things, and yet it's more important to look at Samson and how he handled that kind of a situation, and what he did, and what his life was like. So Samson's story actually begins before he was even born, because the Bible tells us that Samson was set aside for the service of God before he was even born, as all of you are, quite honestly. Now the sons of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord, so that the Lord gave them into the hands of the Philistines 40 years. So they've been in captivity for 40 years. There was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and had borne no children. Then the angel of the Lord appeared to the woman and said to her, "Behold, now you are barren and have borne no children. But you shall conceive and give birth to a son. Now, therefore, be careful not to drink wine or strong drink, nor eat any unclean thing." Okay, so God not only told her that she's going to get pregnant, but the person that she's going to be carrying is already set aside for God, so she's not supposed to drink any strong drink or eat any unclean thing and those kind of things. So what's happening here is that Israel had once again walked away from God. Israel did that quite a few times, it seems, more often than we'd like to admit to. And by what they did is they decided that they were great enough in their own strength to be able to handle their own situation and not listen to what God had to say. I think it's a lot like our nation today. Israel had basically said to God, "Okay, God, thank you. We really appreciate that, your help when we got started here, but I think we got it from here," right? That's kind of where our nation is today. We thank God. God, thank you for getting us started. Man, we had an awesome beginning, and you helped us get this nation started. And now that we're up and booming and all that kind of things, I think we can handle it from here. We've got this. Thank you. I appreciate your help, but we got it, right? Well, of course they didn't, and they couldn't handle it. And so for 40 years now, the Israelite people had found themselves under the control of the Philistines, living in total subjugation to them. They had no lives, really. They were just slaves. So God, being rich in His mercy, as the Bible tells us that God is rich in mercy, sends an angel to the wife of Manoah. And what you need to know about Manoah's wife, again, is that she is unable to bear children. She has never borne any children, never had a child, and unable to bear children. So, but the angel of the Lord tells her that, as they figure out later, this angel of the Lord person, it's actually none other than the pre-incarnate Jesus Christ. Okay, that's who they figure out later it is. I'll just kind of give you that as an extra. And so he tells her that she's going to get pregnant and have a son. Not only that, but during her pregnancy, she's not to do anything, to drink any wine or strong drink, and not to eat any unclean thing. So the question is, why not? The question is, why is she not to drink wine or any strong drink or to eat any unclean thing? I mean, I don't think it's not a case of alcohol. Has been proven to cause birth defects, and God knew that, and He said, no, I don't want you to drink alcohol because I don't want any birth defects here. And it wasn't because God was telling her, now, I don't want you to have any morning sickness, so don't eat anything unclean, right? It's not what's happening here at all. Instead, the reason she was not to drink any alcohol or eat any unclean thing was because the baby she was going to be carrying was to be a Nazarite to God from the womb. So the next question is then, what is a Nazarite? He's supposed to be a Nazarite from the womb. Well, what is a Nazarite? Well, actually a Nazarite was simply a person who was set apart for the service of God, as all of us are. There's nothing strange happening here. There's nothing weird happening. There's nothing really special in that sense of the word. All of us have been set apart as people of God to be God's called man. So actually in the Old Testament world, and the way it happened back then, was being a Nazarite in Old Testament times included one of several religious restrictions in order to be a Nazarite and to make a Nazarite vow. And it could include one or two or three of all these things. Well, first thing is that you're not to drink wine or any strong drink, and to be set apart for God. A second thing is that you're not to touch or even approach any dead body. Okay, keep that in mind because we're going to talk about that in a minute. A third one is that, and or not even to ever get your hair cut. And I think that's interesting. I'd like to expound or like to talk a little more about that. We're not going to have time here today. But when you think about that stuff and you put it in context of all the other things that are happening in the Bible, it's kind of like, really? God tells him not to cut his hair? We all know that Samson was not to cut his hair. He was a guy with a really long hair, but he was really strong, right? And yet you enter into the New Testament. Of course, it's a totally different subject and all different kind of things. But Paul says everybody knows that it's a shame for a man to have long hair. And we all look at the pictures of Jesus that they depict Jesus as, and he's always got long hair, right? And so, there's a lot of things there anyway. It's kind of interesting to look at, to think about those kind of things, because Samson was the one which the Lord said would be the sign of God's strength within him. It was his long hair. That was the sign of God's strength within him. Not his strength. His hair was not his strength. His hair was a sign of God's strength within him. Got it? You got to keep that in mind as we go along here, because otherwise we're going to get lost, we're going to get off the track, and we're going to think of a lot of different things that aren't true. His hair was not his strength. His hair was a sign of God's strength working in and through him. That's all it was. Okay, so he said, "For behold, you shall conceive and give birth to a son, and no razor shall come upon his head. For the boy shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel from the hands of the Philistines." That word "begin." He's going to get started. And he's going to do a lot of stuff. But he also gets himself in trouble just a little bit later. So, with Samson's strength and his ability, let me just stop right there. I wanted to show you a video of a strong man, this world's strongest man. Check this out. 1,020 pounds deadlift. Can't imagine. That's a lot of weight. Like pick up a Volkswagen and throw it across the street or something. I don't know. That's a lot of weight, man. Whew, my goodness. So for Samson then to cut his hair because of this Nazirite vow would in effect mean that he was denying that it was the power of God through him that was the source of the great strength within him. Make sense? For Samson then, as he grew into being an adult, to cut his hair would be saying to God, I don't need you anymore. This is not where my strength comes from. I'm strong in my own ability. I can do this myself. All that kind of stuff. So as long as he had this hair, he was saying, God is my strength. Make sense? As long as he had this long hair, he was saying to everyone, God is my strength. God is my strength. It's not me. I'm not the one that's strong in my own strength. God is the one who is the strength within me and through me. So when Samson becomes an adult, Samson was definitely the strongest man on earth. And probably still is. I wonder how tall he was. The Bible doesn't say, but I would venture to guess that he was probably very, very tall, as well as being very, very strong. You know, I think you'll see here in a moment. So not only was he the strongest man on earth, but he had a weakness for women. And you can kind of put those two things together, right? He's the strongest man on earth, which means the women are going to flock to him just because he's popular. And then he's got a weakness for women to begin with. So we got a problem here. You know, there's a weakness there, and there's a problem that's going to happen, and that we already kind of maybe already know about. So, you know, he definitely had no problem getting the most beautiful woman on earth to give him anything he wanted, if you know what I mean. So Samson's first demonstration of his mighty strength happened when he was still a really young man. He was actually not just approaching the age of being able to get married. Whatever that age might have been back then, but probably fairly young, you know. And so what happened was that he was on his way down to a place called Timnah, and in the land of the Philistines. And the reason he was going down there, because he was going down there to check out this gorgeous babe that he had seen on an early occasion. So, and on the way down there, the Bible tells us that a young lion came roaring toward him. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him mightily, so that he tore him as one tears a young goat, though he had nothing in his hand. But he did not tell his father and mother what he had done. Are you getting this here? Not only does he tear a young lion apart, I don't know how young the lion was, but you know what? I wouldn't want to tangle with a lion anyway. How many of you would like to tangle with any age lion? Now, if he's old enough to rush out of the brush to try to kill something, he's old enough to tear you apart, not you tear him apart. Now, what I think is interesting in my mind is that a lot of times the lions that we think about lion. When I think about lion, I think mountain lion. I think about mountain lion or a cougar or whatever you call them. And they're good sized cats for sure, you know, 120, 150 pounds, maybe 10, 12 feet long from nose to the tip of their long, long tail. But when you look at African lions, the lions in that part of the country, they're humongous. They are beasts, man. They make our lions look like little kitties, you know. They really do. So Samson's first demonstration of his strength, then, it was to tear this young lion to pieces. I couldn't tear a young goat to pieces, I don't think. Maybe a baby goat, maybe. But a lion, and so with his bare hands, he said he didn't have anything in his hands. It was with his bare hands he took this lion and tore him to pieces. So as this young lion came out roaring against him, he just grabbed him and grabbed a hold of him and tore him all to pieces and all that kind of stuff. I can't imagine. Matter of fact, I'll tell you again, most of you already know this, but I spent 10 years working for the U.S. government. And quite honestly, unashamedly, I was a professional trapper for the U.S. government. I loved those years, the greatest years of my life. Some of the greatest years of my life, it was for animal damage control. when there were a lot of animals that were killing livestock, or maybe even your dog off the back porch. You know, coyotes would do that. There were several times that happens around here. If you're missing one of your cats, there's a very good chance that one of the coyotes got your cat and ate him. But it was livestock like calves and sheep and that kind of stuff. People were making a living off of that. And, you know, so I've had occasion, and I've hunted lion, I've hunted bear, I've caught all those kind of things. And I guarantee you, I wouldn't want to tangle with a bobcat, much less a lion or a bear. They got stickers on all 4 feet and a whole mouth full of them, and they will tear you to pieces, man. They're nasty. They are nasty. So for him to grab this young lion and to tear him to pieces, limb from limb, like they say, would have been really something. Would have really been something. Again, you got to realize too that a dead body was something he wasn't supposed to be around either, right? So we got a couple of things going on here. Anyway, what happens was he's going down here to meet this gorgeous babe that he had laid eyes on, and he ended up marrying this beautiful babe, and she betrayed him at the wedding party. At the wedding party, she betrayed him. She gave information to his friends that betrayed him right there on the spot and caused him to lose a bet. Now here was the bet. Let's check out this bet. He said, let me propound a riddle to you guys. If you'll be able to tell me within 7 days of the feast, which was a wedding feast back then, were 7 days long, he said, then I will give you 30 linen wraps and 30 changes of clothes. But if you're not able to tell me, then I'll give you the 30 linen wraps and 30 changes of clothes. And they said, hey, let's have it, dude. Let's have it. We're up for this, right? We're up for this. We can do this. So what happened was that here the riddle is that he said, out of the eater came something to eat, and out of the strong came something sweet, but they were not able to tell him what the riddle was. The lion he had just killed, he came back at a later time and found that the dead body of the lion had the carcass of the lion, and bees had created honeybees had made a honeycomb in there. And so he turned aside on that trail, and he got honey out of this carcass of this dead lion. Not supposed to be around dead things. Well, not necessarily, because his hair was really just the sign of God. Just because he had an Nazarite vow didn't necessarily mean he had to do all those things. So he gives them this riddle, and they're not able to tell him. So she betrayed him and told them what the riddle was about. Made him so mad that he just left her. He just left her. He walked away to never return. He decided he didn't want to have anything to do with her. Matter of fact, this whole incident made him so mad that not only did he leave her, but before he left her, he made good on his bet. He's an honest man. He made good on his bet, but the way he made good on his bet was that he killed 30 other Philistines barehandedly, took their clothes, and gave them to these other guys. Is he a strong man? Is he a warrior? Yeah, you ain't kidding. He single-handedly killed 30 men all by himself. Didn't need any help. On another occasion, in his second marriage to the sister of his first wife, which was basically annulled, it ended with her father refusing to accept the dowry that he had offered. He wanted to marry her, so he gave a dowry. Her father said, nope, not good enough. So again, he vented his anger on the Philistines by catching 300 foxes. I told you, been there, done that. That's not an easy thing to do. He caught 300 foxes, and what he did is he tied a torch to a rope between pairs of foxes. He didn't tie them to their tail. Like, when I was a kid, I thought, how terrible. He lit their tails on fire. No, he didn't. He tied a rope between pairs of foxes and then put the torch in the middle and then turned them loose. Of course, they ran and they caught all their fields on fire and all that kind of stuff. Of course, when the fire burned the rope in two, then they all went free and it's all cool, right? So when the Philistines found out that Samson was the one who had destroyed all of their crops, The Bible tells us that he destroyed the three main crops that they had, in that part of the country. Their grain fields and their vineyards and their olive groves were all burned down. When they found out that Samson was the one that did it, then that he was the one that caused all this destruction, they retaliated by burning his second wife and her father to death. Oh boy, this can be a lot of war, isn't it? Between one man and a whole nation. He's a strong man. Not to be outdone, the Bible says that Samson struck them ruthlessly with a great slaughter, and he went down and lived in the cleft of the rock of Edom. I'm not sure if he'd already killed 30 men to take their clothes and killed a bunch of others. I'm not sure what a slaughter ruthlessly might include, but I bet it was bad. It was quite the bloodshed. Okay, so over and over, what I've done for you here is I want you to see is that over and over again, Samson has proven his God-given strength against the Philistines. He's proven that this strength that God has given him is unbelievable. It's unmatched, unbelievable. However, he's starting to get cocky. Not only is he starting to make bets, right? And then he gets mad if he loses. He pays off, but he gets mad if he loses, and he starts killing people and that kind of stuff. Because after about 20 years of harassing and single-handedly killing many thousands of Philistines himself, Samson finally heads down to a place called Gaza, where he falls in love with this woman by the name of Delilah. So when the mayor of the city and the city council find out he's in town, they enlist Delilah's help to try to bring him down, to try to put an end to all this slaughter. Because all these people he's slaughtering is Philistines. He hates Philistines, and he's going to kill all he can, right? So what they want to know is how in the world it's possible, if it is possible, to overpower him in some way, shape, or form. So check this out. So Delilah says, "Please tell me where your great strength is and how you may be bound to afflict you." How many of you guys would be taken in by that, by a girl that said that? No, I hope I wouldn't. She says, "What's the best way to kill you?" Well, let me tell you, right? Yeah, of course. No, I don't think so. Well, he's starting, what we're seeing is he's starting to play with this whole thing. He's really getting to be cocky because he's killed thousands of Philistines and he's got all this great strength and nobody's able to overpower him, and he's feeling really strong and he's feeling really confident in him. He's starting to feel really confident in himself. So here's at least the beginning of Samson's hold my beer and watch this moment. Check this out. Samson said to her, "If they bind me with 7 fresh cords that have not been dried, then I will become weak and be like any other man." Well, if you read the story, you know that's not true, right? She betrays him. She does. Right there on the spot, she betrays him. They bring in a bunch of guys, and they do exactly what he said right here while he's asleep. Well, of course, when they woke up the next morning, just and they're all broke, right? Kind of reminds me of Mondo on Blazing Saddles, Time to wake up, Mondo. He's chained to the, if you haven't seen the movie, you need to. It's hilarious. And don't watch it on TV because all the good stuff's cut out. Watch it, rent the DVD. And he's chained to the jail, a great big guy. And he said, "Mondo, it's time to wake up." And he goes, and breaks all those chains, just like they're not there. Well, that's Samson, right? It didn't matter how they tied him up. Well, of course he's toying with her, right? He's toying with her. Of course he's teasing her. He's kind of making fun of her in some way, shape, or fashion. But you got to know that he's starting to get closer and closer to telling her the truth with each one of these little passing teases or jokes or whatever you want to call them. So Judges 15:11 says, Then 3,000 men of Judah went down to the cleft of the rock at Edom, and it was said to Samson, Do you not know that the Philistines are rulers over us? What then is this that you have done to us? And he said to them, as they did to me, I have done to them. I just returned the favor, dude. You know, right? They went down there. But these are men of Judah. Remember, these aren't Philistines. These are his own countrymen. His own countrymen, his fellow countrymen. And he said to them, Well, I just did to them what they did to me. And they said to him, We have come down to bind you so that we may give you into the hands of the Philistines. He's being betrayed by his own people. Well, because he has waged war against the Philistines, and the Philistines are now waging greater war against the people of Judah, right? And so it's getting to be this war, and it's escalating, and it's all Samson's fault. So they're saying to Samson, now you tell us how we can, instead of Delilah, now they're coming to him and saying, tell us how we can do this. So here's another hold my beer moment. Samson says to them, swear to me that you will not kill me. You don't find that funny? I think it's hilarious. You think he's afraid of them killing him? No. He's already killed thousands of Philistines. And now these guys who are afraid of the Philistines are coming to him. And he said, oh, please, anything, just don't kill me, right? He's toying with them again. He's making a big joke, and they're taking him serious, of course. That's hilarious, Oh, please don't hurt me. Right. Uh-huh. I don't think he's afraid a bit. That's not the point. But that's where his downfall really gets worse and worse. He's going farther and farther down. They tied him with new ropes and delivered him to the Philistines, but he broke the new ropes, and then he killed 1,000 Philistines to boot with the fresh jawbone of a donkey. Y'all maybe have heard some of that story. So you may already know the rest of the story. When he falls in love with this prostitute by the name of Delilah, and there are 3 times that he plays with this temptation by letting her think that he has told her the right secret to his strength. And the first time we begin with a secret, he says, if they bind me with 7 fresh cords that have not been dried, we looked at a moment ago. Second one is she begs him a second time, and she says, if they bind me tightly with new ropes which have not been used, then I will become weak like any other man. Well, she tries that too, but that wasn't it either, right? He's just playing games. The third time, she begins to accuse him of not trusting her. You think? Oh, but sweetie, you don't trust me. But you'd already betrayed me twice. Oh, no, that wasn't me. Come on, sweetie, just tell me, right? She betrayed him twice already. And now she wants to say, he's the one that doesn't trust her. So he says to her, if they weave the 7 locks of my hair with the web and fasten them with a pin, then I will become weak like any other man. Is that true? No, that wasn't true either. That wasn't it either. But he's getting closer, isn't he? Have you noticed? We got this progression. And now it has to do, first it was bind me with ropes, with dry ropes, then it's bind me with fresh ropes. Now it's put something in my hair. He's getting closer. He's starting to weaken. He's starting to get stupid. He's getting intoxicated, way too intoxicated with his own strength and his own ability to stand up to the challenge and to be strong in his own strength. So he's beginning to trust his own strength and to be able to resist this temptation. And we can't do that. That's not possible. So here it comes. Here's what she says to him. How can you say, I love you, when your heart is not with me? Okay. You've deceived me these 3 times and have not told me where your great strength is. She's also deceived him these 3 times, right? Duh. You can tell he's becoming intoxicated, right? He's making very poor choices. He's beginning to make some really stupid decisions. I mean, really stupid decisions. Just like when you get too intoxicated. You make stupid decisions and you wake up the next morning going, what happened? Yeah. So he finally does. He gives in and he tells her the truth, and she cuts off his hair while he's asleep. He finally did it. He told her the truth as though he trusts her. You know he's intoxicated. Not with liquor. Not with beer. He's intoxicated on his own strength and his ability in his own strength, not God's strength. He's in effect saying, I don't need God anymore. I've got this handled. Look at all I've done over these past years. All these years I've killed. How many Philistines have I killed? And how many people have I done in? No problem. I'm strong. I can take this. I can do it. I'm okay. I've had training. I'm the strongest man in the world. Right? So the Philistines seized him and they gouged out his eyes. Yeah. How? Because he denied God's strength and they cut off his hair, which was the sign of God's strength within him. And they brought him down to Gaza and bound him with bronze chains, and he was a grinder in the prison. He was a slave. Okay, so I got to tell you guys, if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, there is spiritual greatness within you. There is. And you also have been called by God from before you were born. You were conceived in greatness. We all are. Jesus knew you from the moment you were conceived. And he alone understands and knows the greatness for what he has created you. He alone knows. And I can tell you that in Jesus Christ, you are strong. You are courageous. Okay, I'll back up and say, outside of Jesus Christ, you are strong. You are courageous. But if you want to be truly strong and truly courageous and be a true man among men in God's eyes, then you've got to surrender, you've got to yield to him and allow him to work in you and through you. Don't become cocky in your own strength and your own ability. You do that, you're dead. You're dead. Just like Samson. Samson is proof that you can be the strongest man on earth, and they will take you and gouge out your eyes and put you in prison to be a grinder of grain. The most menial task you can possibly imagine. If you become strong in your own strength, you will end up like Samson. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how big you are. I don't care how determined you are. So don't ever become deceived into thinking that you are strong in your own strength. Because here's the deal. Here's the deal. Satan loves to make strong men weak. That's what he did with Samson. Satan loves to make strong men weak. He plays on your weaknesses. He touches you where he knows that you're the weakest, and he's going to pull on those strings, and he says, hey, let me send you the most beautiful woman in the world. Her name is Delilah. Don't you love that name? Oh, it sounds so pretty. That's where it goes. And Satan plays on those weaknesses to bring you down. But I can tell you at this point, I don't care where your life has been. I don't care where you've been in the past. And I don't even care where you are right now. I don't care what memories you're living with. No matter how many bad decisions you've made in your life, because we've all made how many of you made bad decisions in life? I guarantee you I've made some really bad decisions that have cost me years and years and years of misery. But I don't care about any of that stuff, because you can be a man of great power and great influence in God's kingdom. You can be a man that truly makes a difference in the kingdom of God. You can. You can be a man among men. You can be a man of courage again. You can be a man of great spiritual strength. You can be a man who defends those who are defenseless, and be a man of integrity. You can be a godly husband. You can be a godly father. You can be a godly dad. But only if you'll stop trying to be strong in your own strength. It's the only possible way. Listen, guys, we got to get together. And we got to say, you know what? We all think we're pretty tough, but we need to get together and depend on each other as well to help keep us understanding that our strength comes from God, not from us. You know, that's why so many men are outside of church these days. Church is a place for weak people, not strong men. You know what? Samson has proven that if you're a truly strong man, you're there. You're there. You're not out. You're there. And you're getting together with other men who are there. And you're saying, listen, guys, we can do this. In God's strength, we can do this. Because, here's the bottom line. The reason we can do this is because our awesome God loves to make weak men strong. That's God's business. He's in the business of making weak men strong. In the strength of His might, not our own. And that's why Paul says in Ephesians 6:10, he says, be strong in the Lord in the strength of His might, not your own. That's where true men come from. That's who true men are. Is men who are strong enough to say, I stand for the Lord. And that's the way it is. He is my strength, not me. Because the Lord is a warrior. The Lord is His name. And if we want to be true warriors in this world today, we must depend on His strength within us. So quit cutting your hair. That's what I got out of it.